What's going on, everybody? It is that time of year. It is the first edition of our Friday live stream best ball drafts here at FTNFantasy.com. My name is Zac Graham, aka Kawaisenberg DFS. Excited to go along this best ball journey with you all once again here in 2024. Rankings just dropped today at FTNFantasy.com. And no matter if you are a subscriber or not yet, these rankings are free over at FTNFantasy.com. So I will drop these rankings into the chat. And actually, before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into a draft here because these can take a while to fill. So if you want to draft along with me, we are waiting for just 2 people. So hopefully some of you watching, wanting to draft along, already jumped in to this draft and are part of the other 10 folks, or other 9 folks rather, waiting along with me. Just 2 to start here. Let's get the rankings dropped into chat. There you go. So again, those rankings are free. Those will be updated throughout the preseason here. We are, as of today, under 2 months until the regular season begins. Also, let's just go ahead. I guess I'll wait till the draft starts. We can make this draft board a lot bigger. We'll make me a lot smaller once we get started here. So in what you will see on the screen, my ranks are imported into my Underdog Fantasy account. So if you want to do so, you can take a look at those ranks. You go over to Underdog Fantasy on desktop. You click on rankings right up here at the top. Toggle to NBA, and you can shuffle the ranks. So you can put my rankings in there. You can make some changes yourself. I think that is a pretty nice feature over there at Underdog Fantasy. And while we're waiting here, still waiting for 2, I just want to remind everybody that if you have not signed up yet at Underdog and you're trying to get in on some of this action, you can sign up using the promo code FTN. When you do that at sign up, you're going to get a 50% deposit match bonus offer, but that's up to $250. You will also get a special discounted pick. So you get both of those things when you sign up at Underdog today using that promo code FTN. Just one spot remaining in our first live stream draft of, well, still late summer here, but feels like fall to me. Because we are we're less than 2 weeks away now from the NFL season. So I know this is probably the most popular draft weekend for NFL fantasy football, your season-long drafts. My main league, or I guess I've got kind of 2 main leagues, but this one that I've got with some friends, some buddies from even all the way back to middle school in this draft. This is our 20th year live drafting tomorrow in person, so I'm excited for that. Had to sneak some NBA best ball here in Under the Wire. While we're waiting, again, 1 spot left. So if you want to jump in and draft along with us, go ahead and grab that last spot here at Underdog Fantasy in the double dribble contest, right? So you go to drafts, toggle pretty far to the right, I think, still at this point, with NFL, college, WNBA tonight, baseball still going on. A lot of stuff happening there at Underdog Fantasy and at FTN Fantasy. If you've been doing some of those NFL best ball drafts, I know Alex and Sam did a 555 over there on DraftKings yesterday afternoon. You can find that stream, I believe, still here on the FTN YouTube channel if you want to go check that out later today, or on Alex or Sam's Twitter accounts. I think 1 million up top in that draft. So high stakes last night for Alex and Sam. Also, while we're waiting, we have restarted the NBA podcast here at FTN Fantasy. Myself, Mike Randall, FTN Fast Break. You can follow us on Twitter at FTN Fast Break, or X, right? Depending on what you call it, still at FTN Fast Break. That's all releasing those on Mondays. And once we get to the regular season, we'll go Mondays and Thursdays. So short 30-minute podcast. We talked some Underdog best ball value picks on this past Monday's episode. So we're going to get into some of our overvalued and some of our favorite undrafted players this coming Monday. Of course, we'll talk about many of those players here on the stream today as well. Go ahead. I did forget to ping the FTN NBA subscribers chat here in the Discord. See if we can get, I don't know if Chris is around, UNC as he is known in these parts. For my money, he's already waiting in here, but we'll see. I think Chris joined me in every single Friday live stream draft last season, if I'm not mistaken. And I will say, there he is, UNC in here. Good to see you, Chris. Going for another top 15 finish this year in the double dribble. And man, I tell you what, it was great to see you up there again, because you and I converse a lot about these NBA best ball drafts. Yeah, but that last year was the first year for me. The previous 3 seasons, I had at least one team make it to the final every year. Last year, no dice for me. So I still did squeak out a small profit. And I guess that's one thing we can talk about too here while we're waiting is we've got another change in structure to this tournament. If I recall correctly, and I think we can go ahead and pull it up here. So last year, if you remember, Underdog split the prize pool into 2 separate payouts, right? There was the regular season payout where I believe we got paid out for top 2 teams advancing, maybe some third place teams, but then there was payouts along the way through the playoff rounds. We've got just the regular season, which they're calling the qualifiers here in the tournament schedule. Let's just go ahead and make that a little bit bigger. So 17 weeks of the qualifying rounds. And then we've got weeks 18 through 23, 1 large playoff round. And again, so you're going to get your cumulative score each of those playoff weeks. And then you look at the prize breakdown, 100K up top. Love to see that, 50, 25, 20. So I think spread out pretty nicely once you get up into that top 100, top 75 or so. But to get paid out this year, you have to get first or second in your first 17-week qualifying leagues. So I kind of like this. I feel like it's a little bit more simple, more straightforward. UNC, I know we were talking about going through the playoff schedules as well, right? So I don't think that's as much of a priority this year as it has been in past years, where remember we would have like 3 rounds of playoff or knockout rounds, getting paid going through that, and those 2-week periods. It was much more important to see which teams had 7 games and some teams had 4 games during those stretches. So UNC saying regular season last year was very kind. Need to work on drafting more for those tournament weeks. Yeah, and again, but I just think that now that the tournament weeks is just one big block of schedule, it feels like it's just a little bit less of a priority. Still going to pay attention to that and help us with our draft decisions, but just less of a priority than it was, say, like 2 years ago, right? When I think we really took advantage of those playoff rounds. That's 2022 is when I had 4 teams, I think, in the final. Unfortunately, Nikola Jokic, I think, on all those teams and didn't play a ton in that final week. It's unfortunate. So if you've pulled up the ranks, my top 200 here in Underdog over at ftnfantasy.com, you can see Nikola Jokic still occupying that top spot in my ranks. But, man, I'm going back and forth between him and Victor Wembanyama. At the moment, I've settled on Jokic. So has the field, right? You can see that ADP 1.4 for the Joker, 2.4 for Wemby. A little bit more secure is my feeling on Joker over Wemby in terms of the durability. Like, we haven't seen a ton of issues injury-wise from Victor as of yet, but I still worry about him being potentially rested on back-to-backs. I don't think it's out of the question this year that the Spurs things could go south for them. Clearly, they are trying to be more competitive, right? Maybe trying to hunt that play-in, back end of the top 8. Again, I think that is a very tall task for this team, even though they should be improved. They certainly are on paper, bringing in, aging CP3, but when they put a real point guard out on the floor last year, things really looked different. So if you take Wemby first, obviously I have no issue with that. It's Joker for me right now. And then we can also talk about some of the positional scarcity. I think that has been made a little bit tough this year. We've got our final drafter, so getting started here in about a minute. And man, I swear I've been like 6 or 7 in like every draft I've done the last couple weeks. You can see UNC in here, who again has been drafting more than I have already. It's got 16% Wemby, only 5% Jokic, trying to even that out with his last 50 drafts. Chris, are you 100 drafts in? You're a beast, man. I think I'm like 15, 20. So I've got some work to do here over these last couple months. But 7th does give me a nice spot here to talk about the wing position and how scarce it is this year. It has been over the last few years. If you've been tuning into these streams or looking at the ranks or my best ball diary strategy articles, those will start up again in September. You know that I've been an advocate for kind of the hero big strategy. It feels like to me that the field is adjusting to that type of strategy because you see their Joker goes first. But we've got, in terms of the ADP, we've got 5 bigs in the top 9. And you take a look at the wing position here. Of course, Giannis, Tatum up top. My first like big reach here, I think, and big is relative, but I've got Paolo ranked 8th. His ADP is 11.2. You can see a number of my ranks here higher for these wing guys than where their ADP currently sits. A little lower on LeBron, so that name value there, right? But Jaylen Brown and his ADP is coming up, so more people are jumping into these drafts and kind of evening these things out. Maybe realizing, wing not super strong because again, you get outside these top 5 wings and you're looking at Jaylen Brown and Pascal Siakam and Julius Randle, and these guys are fine, but like in the same spots, you're finding guys like Trae Young, Jalen Brunson, LaMelo Ball, De'Aaron Fox, Devin Booker, Donovan Mitchell. Guard is very, very deep, big. Also deep, again, considering you only need to start 1 every scoring period. So early on, and Chris, I imagine this is something that you've been doing too. So 100 drafts in, took the last 2-3 weeks off. Yeah, started strong. I think you might be putting that lightly there, my friend. So Wemby, then Giannis, then Luka. Got a couple red badges in here. Oh, and great, UNC. I didn't even see that you're right behind me, so can't wait for you to snipe me all afternoon. It's tradition, right? That is a tradition here. Let's see if we got anybody else. I don't think anybody else that I recognize. I've seen this Mims Me at 4. I've seen them in some drafts doing some interesting things. So this is very easy for me here at 7. I'm going to go ahead and take Jason Tatum because, again, I want to try to get at least 1 wing in the first 2 rounds, and a lot of these drafts I'm finding myself picking up 2. So Tatum, going to get on the team here at 7. See if UNC goes wing or goes big here because, again, like I've got Paolo next, but I have no issue if you want to grab your big here in Anthony Davis. If Sabonis is your guy, again, that's fine. I think DeMar DeRozan's arrived. We see UNC going with the brow. And then Sabonis off the board. So, again, you've got 5 bigs going in the first 9 picks. That is a pretty significant difference, if I recall correctly, from where we've been the last couple years. So you can see, again, my ranks here. They're littered with guards, and I'm fine to get all of these. Again, as you go through 150 drafts, I'm not going to follow my ranks 100% of the time because it depends on how my previous picks pan out. If I wasn't able to secure a wing in that first round, I'm certainly going to reach on a guy like Siakam over like this. If all these other wings are gone from Jaylen Brown on up, I might reach on a Siakam over these 3 guards that I have ranked ahead. Again, I think, and UNC, you can chime in too with any thoughts. Anybody else that's tuned in here, if you've been drafting this early, like us sickos, feel free to chime in with any roster construction ideas, any questions, comments. If you're checking out the ranks for the first time today, don't hesitate. Don't hesitate to tell me where you think I'm wrong. Maybe ask me to explain myself on a certain rank, maybe like Josh Giddey, how high I've got him. I think he's about 10 spots above ADP in my ranks. We'll get there. On the turn here, so we saw Sabonis, then Ant, then Paolo at 11, Scotty at 12. I feel like MD Vic 98. I want to say, I feel like that's somebody that was in here with us a lot last year. Maybe I've just seen them in drafts here, but you can see at the turn, Barnes and KD. I love that start. There's going to be plenty of guards available later on. Again, maybe not these all-star caliber, some of these all-NBA type guys, but I've been liking a lot of the builds that I go heavy on wings earlier compared to when I try to wait. A couple picks here, I have not paired Tatum and Brown together yet. I don't think if you're, firing off 150 drafts in this double dribble, I don't think it's crazy to put them on the same team in a couple, but I'd rather pair LeBron here. I'm fine with Tatum in there. I'm fine grabbing one of these guards. There goes LeBron. There goes Tyrese Halliburton. So UNC here. I imagine UNC is going to grab Jalen. We'll see, though. We'll see what Chris is going to do here. You can try to force my hand into taking Jalen, I guess. Okay, he took a different Jalen. Took Jalen Brunson, trying to force my hand with Jalen Brown. I'm gonna stay away from pairing those two Celtic stars here. But I am going to, just for the purposes of this first live stream draft of draft season, I'm going to go ahead and start wing. I'm going to go down a couple spots in my ranks and grab Pascal Siakam. That was pick 18, right? So you see ADP 18.3. So I'm a little bit lower on Siakam than the field right now in terms of that average draft position. But we've got our two wings. And now we can press forward, looking for some guards, looking for a big. I still think that the three bigs on the board right here with Chet and Şengün and Zion are all, they're of course the back end of that top range, but that's where like I'm fine if you want to count one of those guys as your like hero big. I don't think you should feel as safe as Chet goes off the board. I don't think you should feel as safe as a Joker or an Embiid. Even Brown and Sabonis, right? Those two guys are kind of the bridge between the top three in this group here in the 20s. And speaking of Zion, pictures don't always tell the truth, but it certainly looks like he is in a different type of shape. At least here in August, it's all, still 2 months till we play a game that matters. UNC and talk about the turn. Says Paolo's been an auto click at the turn. I agree. Again, you see me having him ranked 8th. I've been ended up with a decent amount of Banchero as well. Love the Banchero and Ja or Ant start. I agree. I just think with Paolo coming into his third year, right? We saw the improvement last year. I think both from a real hoops perspective, right? Your eye test and then statistically. Fantasy wise, right? Very, very consistent. And it's certainly not a hot take to say that Paolo Banchero just has a ceiling that is still, I think, significantly higher than what we've seen. So I like third year Paolo there. Still got Jalen Brown hanging around again. I know my 17th rank on Jalen Brown, higher than the ADP. There goes Jalen at 23, ADP 21 and a half. So burnt, I believe. Starting Wemby and Jalen Brown. That ain't bad at all. Back to the 2-3 turn here. Hefty adds Fox at 24, Devin Booker at 25, adding that to Jokic, who he took at the first pick. So it'd be interesting to watch that one slot there with no wings through 3 rounds. And a pretty significant wait here to get back on the clock. 5 spots between me and my next pick. So again, you look, even if we just talk about the guards here, LaMelo, Spider, Steph, Dame, Maxey. You could talk about Cade in this range too at 31. Fine taking him there. There goes Şengün. So this is going to be, I'm waiting on bigs here. I'm not going to take Bam here in the third. No Mobley for me. Not at this spot. We'll see. I don't know who's listening. Who's going to, I've got UNC on the other side of me here in the odd numbered rounds. I don't know if we've got any shadow viewers here. There goes Bam off the board. So I'm guaranteed to get one of LaMelo, Steph, or Dame here. And that feels pretty good putting him on one of those guys on the team, rather, alongside Tatum and Siakam. So L high on the clock now with 10 seconds. Got SGA and Chet stack there. I don't hate that. I don't hate that at all. See where they're going to go. No wings yet. Okay, it is Julius Randle. So M. Wesley in here. He's got a guard and a big. He's got Trae Young, Joel Embiid. I do like that start. If it's me at that spot, I'm probably taking. Okay, it looks like I was having some connection issues there. Anybody who's tuned in and can hear me, let me know in the comments. I apologize for any issues that we're having here, but I will happily take LaMelo Ball at pick 31. I've got him ranked 20th. ADP of 28.6. I will take that. DeRozan for UNC. Then Laurie goes off the board. UNC, talk to me about, if you can hear me again. I apologize. I'm getting a little bit of a warning there on my internet. Talk to me about your DeRozan thinking, because I've always been, obviously I'm a DeMar fan. Like, if you've been tuning into these streams for a couple years, I used to have the DeMar autographed jersey over my shoulder. Love DeMar. And he was great fantasy wise last year, especially where you had to draft him. But like, coming over to Sacramento now, he's going to be sharing the floor with Sabonis and De'Aaron Fox. Malik Monk is on that second unit still. It feels high to me. Okay, Chris saying sounds good and clear here. That's good. Hopefully it's just on my end that I'm getting a little spinny thing every couple minutes. Albert in here. I want to say that Albert was in here last year for some drafts. Appreciate all your hard work. Thanks for tuning in, Albert. As a Bulls fan, just wondering why you raised Giddey in your rankings. Yeah, so Josh Giddey, and that's somebody that I don't hate. As be a little bit of a reach compared to my rankings here, but wouldn't hate him in the fourth round. To me, it's just the opportunity that he's going to be presented with here on a Bulls team that, again, I don't think has any delusions that they're going to compete for anything this year. Like, they're still a little bit stuck in this purgatory where Zach LaVine is still on the team, and Vooch is, just he's not getting you over any sort of hump here. And Josh Giddey, again, I think still on that expiring contract this coming season, right? So I think he's going to have all the opportunity in the world to make this kind of like, quote unquote, his team. Again, you would imagine they're going to be trying to shop Vooch and LaVine around during the season up to that deadline. So it's more of an opportunity thing, if anything, for me with Josh Giddey. You watch the Olympic tournament, right? You see what he can do with the ball in his hands when he's not playing alongside an MVP candidate, a first team All NBA guy in SGA. The fantasy upside is just much higher in my eyes. And I think I'm a bigger Josh Giddey fan from a fantasy standpoint, even before this past season, than probably the average. So I don't hate picking up my third wing here, because remember, you've got a flex spot in your scoring every week. I think this is going to be Paul George for me. Again, maybe I'm arguing against DeMar DeRozan. Paul George, similar type of scenario there, joining Joel Embiid, joining Tyrese Maxey there in Philadelphia. But I'm getting Paul George 10 picks later than DeMar. Right. So UNC saying lots of minutes, might be less productive, but still like him in this range, talking about DeRozan there. I think that's fair. I think that's totally fair. So I think it's not just for me, Chris. It's not just that DeMar is, again, in that situation where I think he might have a little bit less opportunity, less fantasy efficiency, that I'm targeting some of those wings before him. And in that range, I'm just coming down on maybe a guard. Maybe I'm grabbing Zion there, something like that. As you can see in my ranks, like, again, maybe I'm just being stubborn. I would take Kawhi over DeMar here this year still. We'll see, man. Clippers might be in trouble. It might be in trouble for a while. We'll see. After I took Paul George at 42, got Franz Wagner off the board, McCall Bridges, Kyrie Irving at 45 feels like a pretty darn good value there, especially if you don't have Luka, which this is the thing. This mims me here. Very interesting draft strategy that I saw the other night, now pairing Luka and Kyrie together. It's not the worst idea in the world. It just doesn't seem that optimal to me. So you can see the board here. This is where we wanted to keep an eye on Hefty in the 1 spot. Went Jokic, Fox, Booker. No wings yet. And Burnt at the 2 spot. There goes Brandon Miller. So Hefty getting Brandon Miller, Jimmy Butler. And that's what you can do if things break the right way. Jokic or Wemby at the top really, really helps you out with your flexibility going forward. We've got 2 teams here. Burnt in the 2 spot. Inmo Stardom in the 3 spot. Both of those teams. Double big already. So that's not an explicit no-no for me. But it is, and see, there's 3 bigs. That's I hate it. I hate it. But if you're going to take 2 bigs that early, then I think that's where I would lean into the 2 big build, where I'm just going to have 2 bigs, and I'm going to try to load up the rest of my draft, right? It would be a 7-7-2 build if I'm going to take a Zion and a Şengün back-to-back, or I'm going to take a Wemby and a Mobley rounds 1 and round 4. So Triple J, IQ, mims me, the wild card back on the clock, also no wings. Quite yet. I am glad that we'll see in Mims me might draft another guard here if they're going to stick with the same kind of style I saw the other night. Okay, go Bear. So still no wings there. See, I'm going to be pretty happy with any guard I can grab here. Giddey, Jamal Murray, J-Dub. Fred VanVleet still there. UNC says he's got 1 share of Kawhi. Worried about him in the Clips. Hey, I agree. I'm certainly worried about them. There goes Giddey off the board, and then Brandon Ingram. So it is going to be Jamal Murray. I've got him as my 48th ranked player here on Underdog. Going to get him at 55. Hopefully I'm not sniping you there, UNC. But yeah, man, with the Clips, it could get real ugly for them, like I mentioned a couple minutes ago. Not just this season, but going forward. But if Kawhi is healthy, he's clearly the alpha on that team. You saw when he was healthy last year, and he was more healthy, played more games last year than in 6 or 7 years. At least it felt like. I could pull up his appearances here on the other screen if I needed to, but I think where you can get him, it's still a decent value. Again, especially at that wing position. So let's see. Wing Kuminga, is that who you were looking for, UNC? Let's check out UNC's team here through 5 rounds. So UNC started Brow, Jalen Brunson, and then going 3 wings in a row. And again, this is where I would say UNC, like I don't dislike the DeMar pick there because you're able to get Kuzma, you're able to get Kuminga in there. J-Dub went next. Still just 1 wing there in the 10 spot. Still 1 wing here in the 11. Still 1 wing there in the 11. Jalen Green off the board. See another guy, maybe the guy I'm the highest on relative to ADP is Chris Middleton. Got him ranked 67th, ADP of 91.2. Again, it just comes down to health. Am I worried about his health? Absolutely. And this is a pick for sure if I'm wing needy at this point. Chris Middleton to me makes a ton of sense. Still extremely efficient from a point per minute standpoint. And if he's healthy, he's still a guy out there that they need to rely on to create and make shots. And of course, I think overall, the key is certainly not a hot take here. Really going out on a limb, saying that a bounce back season from Damian Lillard is the key to this Bucks season. But Middleton as well. This is, again, a guy that while I'm on stream here, maybe somebody picks up Chris Middleton earlier, but I can wait on Middleton usually. I don't have to take him where I have him ranked to usually be able to pick him up. And we're getting to the point, too, where I think I'm the only team here without a big, maybe one other. So we got to start thinking about that as well. Cam Thomas, Denny Avdia, Jared Allen, Michael Porter Jr. UNC takes Desmond Bane. I love the Bane pick there. And I'm going to go ahead. I like Derek White. Got Jason Tatum. Tobias Harris, I think, is interesting in this range, too, as wing depth there on that Pistons team. Kind of the elder statesman on that roster. I'm going to go Darius Garland. 2 years removed from being an all-star, maybe 3 at this point. But, I mean, going first rounds, guards, LaMelo Ball, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland. Wings, Jason Tatum, Pascal Siakam, Paul George. I'm a fan of this start. Yeah. Anytime you can draft a guy who had multiple ankle surgeries, you do it right. Yeah, I mean, hey, I can get him in the 7th or 8th round. Feels pretty good. Again, that fantasy production was there last year when he was there. That's the key, right? So Derek White here, I've got him 10 spots above ADP. I think this is getting to be a good value. I got to start looking at bigs here. When you think about a guy like Kristaps Porzingis, right, who probably not going to play till January. How early is too early to get that, 2.5 month black hole at your big position here? We'll see. I've got him ranked below ADP, so I have to take him where he lies here. If I wanted Porzingis, you got Miles Turner, Jalen Duren, Nick Claxton. I have a little bit of worry on Nick Claxton. Talk about tanking teams. Brooklyn Nets, right? Got control of their picks back so they can actually tank here this year. Traded McCall Bridges away. Get to the end of the draft, we'll be looking to maybe pick up last couple rounds. Maybe some of those guys that could be playing a ton in these playoff weeks. Late March, mid to late March for some of these tanking teams. Utah, of course, another team like that. Portland, another team like that. UNC says, can you talk about the Rockets a bit? Are you drafting anyone aggressively, or are they kind of stacked with too much depth for you? I think I come down more on the latter side there, UNC. I think I'm probably more bullish on the Rockets as a team this year compared to where I have to draft these guys in fantasy. Again, I talked about Şengün earlier. Van Vliet with Shepherd there. Again, I think Shepherd's not going to break into this starting lineup. Certainly not right off the bat. You've got Jalen Green there. You've got Shepherd. You've got Van Vliet in the backcourt. I think my two, of course, I mean, I don't have to tell you how I feel about Tari Eason, right? My feelings have not changed. I love Tari. And I think where you can get Cam Whitmore as well, it's like 130, 125, 130-ish. That's fine. I do like Amin Thompson. Did he already? I think he went off the board just a few picks ago. Yeah, it's 68. I don't hate Amin Thompson either because I think he is rightfully classified as a wing here. We saw him playing some small ball 5 to close out last season. But I love him as a fantasy asset, and being able to fill a wing spot there in the late 60s, early to mid 70s. I like Amin for sure. But overall, again, I think it's not a team that I'm going to be purposefully over the field on, and I'd be surprised if I was. UNC says got a good bit of Amon. Had to calm down on him a bit. Yeah, and I think it's like there's another wing eligible player coming up here in a couple minutes that, again, at a position that is just a little bit more scarce than guard, where we still have to start 2 wings. I think Amon Thompson, wing eligible, makes a lot of sense. So I think, unless M. Wesley 13 is going to snipe me here, I think I'm going to go ahead and take the leap on Kristaps Porzingis, because if I can pick up some other serviceable bigs here in the next few rounds and kind of bide my time with this roster, if Porzingis comes back and is healthy, and that's a tall task for KP historically. But if he's healthy from mid-January all the way through these playoff rounds, I feel pretty good with Porzingis there. So we do end up getting a Boston stack into the team. Tatum and Porzingis. Talent-wise, this roster feels great. UNC on the clock now, 2 guards, 3 wings, and a big. Devin Vassell, Keegan Murray went the 2 picks before me. UNC goes Anthony Simons. Don't hate that. You can see in the ranks, I'm high on Scoot Henderson again. You talk about some of these teams that are absolutely going to be tanking down the stretch. Maybe Scoot takes a seat, contrary to last season. I think it's just opportunity. And Portland has 0 reason to not give Scoot all the minutes he can handle. They shipped Malcolm Brogdon out, right, in the offseason. So I've got Scoot ranked 18 spots ahead of ADP. Aaron Gordon, OG Anunoby, CJ McCollum. We're here at the 7-8 turn. Again, 16 rounds in these NBA best ball drafts here at Underdog. You can sign up at Underdog if you have not yet. Use the promo code FTN at sign up. It's your 50% of the match bonus, up to $250 and a special discounted pick. Promo code FTN. DeAndre Ayton goes off the board. Was certainly considering pairing Ayton with Porzingis there. So you can see when I'm looking for a second big. Slim Pickens, Nurkic, J-Val. Again, J-Val, does he get sat down as the Wizards tank the end of the season? Mark Williams, who really put me under last season. I think he ended up being my highest drafted player last year because when we went hard in the early months, right, in these August drafts, getting Mark Williams every time at 140, 130, 120, rode him all the way up to, I want to say, ended up right around, ADP of 100 last year. That back issue flared up, didn't go away all season. So we'll see. I mean, J-Val, Mark Williams, Derek Lively, Zach Edey, fine with all of these guys kind of backing up Porzingis till he gets back. Oh, UNC, you bastard. Takes Chris Middleton at pick 89. I think that is pretty darn good value there. So good job by UNC. That gives me an opportunity to talk about. I just talked about Scoot, but I'm going to go to another wing here. This is another guy. Trace Jackson Davis should be a big, right? He's a wing. So I've got him ranked 89th, ADP, basically 104. Trace Jackson Davis. You can go ahead and get on the team there. We'll take TJD at pick 90, and we'll keep it pushing. So before UNC took Middleton, we saw DeAndre Ayton, D'Angelo Russell at the 7-8 turn, Ausar Thompson, Austin Reeves, Yusuf Nurkic, then Middleton. Now Jaime Jaquez Jr. goes after Trace Jackson Davis. M. Wesley really, really loading up on wings here after a strong start. I think I kind of like this build that M. Wesley's got going here in the 6th spot Started Embiid, Trae Young, Steph Curry. And 5 straight wings, Franz Wagner, Brandon Ingram, Tobias Harris, Keegan Murray, Jaime Jaquez. I don't hate that at all. UNC saying Blazers should just give as many minutes to the young guards as they can, figure out who can play together. 100% with you. You could also see them trade, right? Like a Jeremy Grant, a DeAndre Ayton with Kling in there. Some of these guys could be on the move. And yeah, anytime you can take a guy with bum ankles, you do it. Derek Lively, John Collins, Colin Sexton, 2-spot, who has 4 bigs. That's another thing that's, if you're waiting on bigs and you've got teams in here taking 3 at the 4 spot, taking 4 at the 2 spot, you can get pretty thin. Let's see. What do you think Warriors starting lineup will be opening night? Steph. I think Steph. I think Trace Jackson Davis at the 5. I think Draymond at the 4. You probably still got Wiggins out there. Again, if it were me, I'm probably figuring out a way to get Kuminga out there. But I could see it being Melton as well. So that is not really a good answer for you there. Maybe any Warriors fans in chat. I know we've got Warriors fans abound in the FTN Fantasy Discord channels. I'd be interested to hear their takes. I don't think he's going to bring Draymond off the bench. Might be something I would do, though. I just think they're in trouble still no matter what. They got Buddy there, too. Slow-Mo's there, too. It's kind of a conglomeration of players, right? I don't think it's going to be a great team. All right, we're on deck here. Still got Bradley Beal. Hartenstein goes off the board. All right, I'm doing it. We're going to grab Mark Williams for old time's sake. So grab Mark Williams. Hope that his back holds up until January so we can get KP back. UNC on the clock. 3-4-1 build. He said, yeah, so many different ways the Warriors can go. Chris has a good amount of TJD, only size they have that can be a rim threat, really. I agree. There goes Edie. UNC, you can talk about your Edie thoughts. I don't hate it. Guy's going to play, right? I personally just have questions about, like, can he actually stay out there? It's polarizing play, I think. PJ Washington, 106. A lot of guards here. Still get Beal. Late 9th, early 10th. Midas Buzelis off the board. Drew Holiday, the 9-10 turn. '12 spot here. Started with 3 wings. Has since added 4 guards and 2 bigs. The 11th spot still has no big. We'll see if they go big here. They do not. Really punting bigs there. Any other teams with just 1 big? Everybody Everybody but 11 has at least 2. Trey Rozier at 10-1, Keldon Johnson at 10-2. Bradley Beal off the board at 111. Then Russell Westbrook. We'll see what UNC does here at 10-5. A 3-4-2 build. Keontae George. I like it. I'm going to go homer pick here. I'm going to go Chris Paul. As I look at the other guards in this range, maybe I should update the ranks here, even though they just dropped today. I like having Chris Paul as my 4th guard. Should be, again, starting here with the Spurs next to Victor Wembanyama, Devin Vassell. I like it a little bit more than Jaden Ivey and Brandon Podziemski at this point, especially with the way my draft has panned out here. Jaden Ivey goes right after CP3. Little guard run here. UNC says question the fit with Ja too. Ja wants to have an open lane. Edie should put up stats even if it's limited minutes early. I agree with the stats part. Definitely agree with that. So again, knowing that I'm not going to have Kristaps Porzingis for probably the first 10 weeks. And again, that is the majority of the regular season here in basketball, right? 17 weeks of scoring till we get to that playoff round. Need to start thinking about adding a 3rd big here, which will be only my 2nd big for that first part of the season. The CP3 should get 10 assists a game, just on educated lobs. Yeah, I know you know this, and probably everybody tuning in knows this. I cannot wait to watch Vic with a real point guard. No shade on Trey Jones. If you see what a guy like Trey Jones does for that offense and for Wemby, imagine a Hall of Famer. Again, I don't know if that translates to much more than a 500 team. But after the All-Star break last year, they were pretty close to 500. I think 10-12 after that. Some big wins. Beat almost all the top Western Conference contenders in games that mattered for those contenders, at least, right? A penultimate game of the regular season that shifted the seeding at the top, taking down the Nuggets. A game that meant nothing. Again, I don't even think I can really predict them to make the play-in this year. At least at this point. And things can and probably will change. It's going to be – nobody's going to have fun playing against a Victor Wembanyama team. Stephon Castle, 118. Another player, interesting that he's listed as a wing. I think that does boost his value up a little bit. Klay Thompson, Cam Johnson, Brandon Podziemski. See, Cam Johnson is one of those guys that I have a little bit of concern with coming down the stretch of our best ball season. Not only could he be traded, but again, he's one of those guys you would surely think gets shut down in the last 2-3, maybe even last month of the season. Again, the Nets are one of those teams, right, that wants to make sure they maximize their chances in the lottery for next summer because the draft, it's night and day between this last draft class and the one that is coming in about 10 months. After Podziemski went DiVincenzo, Bogdan Bogdanovic, Andrew Wiggins, and 2 picks till I'm back up here. You can see at the top. Ooh, I love that Tari Eason sitting right there. We've also got a couple big options. Got Brooke Lopez there. You've got Alex Sarr, number 2 overall pick. I think my thinking with Sarr is that, again, I think he is going to struggle to put up big fantasy performances, but minutes, right? Opportunity. You would think he's going to continue to play through their tank. But I think in terms of, like, again, I'm trying to get my way to January where I can get Kristaps Porzingis back active for this team. So I'm going to go Brook Lopez. I need guys that are going to play right off the rip. So we've got a 4-4-3 build here. Considering Porzingis was my first big, I don't hate taking a fourth, but I don't think it's absolutely necessary. Again, pushing a lot of chips in them from late October to New Year's, pushing a lot of chips in on Mark Williams and Brook Lopez, being able to fill that big position adequately. It's a stretch. UNC went Sarr. Let's check in on UNC's team. We got double rookie big there. Again, I don't hate that at all because he went Anthony Davis. He's got that anchor big, right? The hero big build with Anthony Davis at 8th overall. And then picking up the 2 rookies, Edey and Sarr. I like it. Huge run of bigs here, so I'm glad I did not push that off. After my Brook Lopez went Sarr, Clint Capella, Ivica Zubac, who I think is an interesting value down there at 130, and Bobby Portis. Bobby Portis, somebody who I really think should be listed as a wing here. So you've got Trace Jackson Davis, and you've got Giannis, right? Bobby Portis, I think you can classify him as a wing. Bobby Portis ends up being the first big to the 11th spot there in the 11th round. I know I'm not going to get who I want here because I'm on the bad side of UNC. But we'll see. Bilal Coulibaly. I don't hate it. Again, one of those guys that I think Washington probably not going to shut down at the end of the year. Not the first guy they'll shut down, right? That's a Jonas Valanciunas, probably Jordan Poole, maybe. 5-3-3 build here. Caesar takes Malik Monk. So it's 6-3-3. Max Strus goes next. UNC on the clock. Yep. Knew it. No way I was getting my hands on Tari in there. Not with UNC right before me. Well, I'll go ahead and take his teammate. We'll reach by a couple picks. We'll take Cam Whitmore. We got 4 rounds to go. Yeah, sorry, I had to. I do not blame you. I'm not mad at all. So through 12 rounds, we got a 4-5-3 build at guard: LaMelo Ball, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland, Chris Paul. Wings: Jason Tatum, Pascal Siakam, Paul George, Trace Jackson Davis, Cam Whitmore. Bigs: Kristaps Porzingis. He will join us in January. Mark Williams and Brook Lopez. 4 picks to go. After my Cam Whitmore went Tyus Jones. I actually really liked that pick. Mike Randall and myself on the FTN Fast Break podcast have discussed Tyus Jones. Really think he's going to start there. And they just go small. They just, again, all offense. They need somebody to kind of facilitate, and not a knock against Devin Booker. But I think Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, Yusuf Nurkic, I think that's what we're going to see. They cut who? EJ Liddell and Nas Little the other day. and freed up a roster spot. So we'll see what they do with that. After Tyus Jones went Dennis Schroeder. Again, I like that for especially the beginning of the season. You would think Schroeder either going to get shipped along or sat down at some point there in Brooklyn. Aaron Nesmith, Taylor Hendricks, Jaden McDaniels. Now at the 12-13 turn. Yeah, Chris taking the words right out of my mouth. I'm looking at these bigs coming up. Jakob Poeltl, Walker Kessler. You've got Andre Drummond pretty high. We were talking last season, if you recall, Chris and anybody else who's joining us again this year. We were talking about handcuffing your hero big. We did it a couple times last year with Joel Embiid and Paul Reed. Paul Reed, of course, now in Detroit. Andre Drummond back in Philly. And I think if you have Joel Embiid, grabbing Andre Drummond is a decent idea, especially where you can get him, right? ADP 164. There goes Jalen Suggs, 146. Kevin Porter Jr., the most recent questionable decision by the LA Clippers front office. I don't hate the fantasy asset there, though. Buddy Hield, 148. 2 more picks until I'm on the clock. We'll see where the 5 spot goes here, sitting on a 5-4-3 build. Walker Kessler off the board. Now the 6 spot, 5-5-2 build. Reed Shepherd goes off the board at 150. So I am, as we were just talking about UNC, I'm going to take a 4th pick here. So I can get Jakob Poeltl at 151 overall here. That feels pretty good, again, with how the volatility my first 3 big picks provide there. But now we're guards and wings the rest of the way. We're going to end up 6-6-4 here probably. We'll see. UNC goes Ben Mathurin. Then after that, Karis LeVert. UNC says, I have so much Drummond, has value already, but skyrockets if Embiid missed extended time. With you. 100%. I don't think, again, I don't want to get anybody confused potentially. You don't have to just take Drummond if you have Embiid, like UNC suggested there, right? Pretty decent flyer big there in the 150s, 160s. Especially if you went hero big, right? And you're trying to pick up some guys, pick up the pieces late on in the draft around a Jokic or a Wemby, right? Even an Anthony Davis or a Sabonis. Andre Drummond makes some sense. Got him ranked about 9 spots ahead of ADP there. Getting down to a 13-14 turn here after Draymond Green, Donovan Clingan, now Andrew Nembhard go off the board. This is where we're getting, especially here in August, late in August. This is getting to be the fun part of the draft because even some of these guys that were literally 4 days ago, on Monday, when I was writing down some of my favorite undrafted players for the Fast Break podcast. Some of these guys have picked up ADP numbers just this week. So more people getting into these drafts as Andre Drummond goes off the board after Obi Toppin, 158. 3 picks till I'm back up on the clock here. But as more people join into these drafts, they're finding some of these gems down here. Again, when you get to this part of the draft, this is where, an Alex Caruso, right, would be next up on my board. A Marcus Smart, a Mike Conley. But you see a guy in there, right? Got him 19 picks above ADP. Noah Clowney, forward eligible. Probably, again, the Nets probably going to be shutting it down later in the season. Bigger minutes for a guy like Noah Clowney. So again, right, who else would you look at here? A Bob Carrington, right? If Malcolm Brogdon is either shipped out or shut down in Washington. You start looking at some of those Portland guys, right? Delano Banton. Remember what he did last year fantasy-wise as they were playing out the string? They're going to be doing similar stuff this year. Let's see. Good. Mo in here. Hey, man, how's it going? I'm drafting at the 101. Good to see you, Mo. Thanks for tuning in. Oh, auto-drafted Marcus Smart. Oh, I run my mouth way too much. Damn. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's not the worst thing in the world. Nobody to blame but myself there. Let's check out Mo's team at the 101. This is hefty here. So he went Jokic. Wait, we had a little bit of praise for this start earlier. Jokic, pair Jokic with Fox and Booker at the 2-3 turn. And then we were talking about, Mo, I don't know if you were tuned in, but we were wondering what you were going to do there at wing. And then 4-5 turn, Brandon Miller, Jimmy Butler. Brandon Miller, somebody that Mike Randall brought up on the FTN Fast Break podcast this past Monday, is one of his favorite values. And I think he's somebody that may rise in my ranks as we get closer to the season. Because I think, again, you might disagree. I mean, shout out to our resident Hornets fan here at FTN, T Panthers. I was impressed with Brandon Miller's rookie season, and I thought he improved as he went along. It's unfortunate. I got to see the Hornets play, which I think Spurs Hornets last year was just unfortunate in general. But I was at that game in San Antonio. Unfortunately, Brandon Miller turned his ankle coming down off a dunk. But I liked that pick at the end of the fourth round. Then he grabbed Jimmy Butler. You heard Pat Riley talking about Jimmy's got to play more. We'll see if that comes to fruition. So after that start, 2-2-1, Derek White, Miles Turner, Trey Murphy. I like that, especially if you see Brandon Ingram shipped out. Scoot Henderson at 97. I like that pick a lot. Talked about Cam Johnson, Pajemski. Mo's on the clock right now. He's got John Isaac, Pat Williams, and then this pick here, these two picks, 14 and 15 turn. After I autoed Marcus Smart, Corey Kispert, Gigi Jackson, Rui Hachimura. Then Noah Clowney, my guy there, 166. Mike Conley. Mo goes Jordan Clarkson. You're pretty good. Again, another team that's going to be tanking down the stretch. Jordan Clarkson, not somebody that is guaranteed to be out of that rotation in DNP, resting or coming up with injuries by the time this best ball playoffs is over. I don't hate that in the 14th round at all. And I think with Jokic, there was Nikola Jovic. I like that pick in the 15th. Again, high upside. I don't think Mo's got to take another big here. You got Jokic and Turner. If Jokic goes down, you're probably not winning, right? Probably not winning the whole thing. It's a pretty good team there. All right, coming back my way. 5 picks away. Got the 5-5-4 build. I want to grab one guard, one wing. If I can. You can see in my ranks here, we've got 4 guards. You got Brogdon, Trey Jones, Bub Carrington, Ben Simmons. We're going to do the Ben Simmons thing again? I don't know. 15th, 16th round. There's worse picks out there, right? There's worse picks out there. There goes Trey Jones. 2 more picks. I think here, even though I've got like Brogdon again early in the season, that's the play. But late on in the season, right? Bub Carrington. I don't think you can really go wrong here. Again, both of them I have got Brogdon 10 spots ahead of ADP. I've got Bub 17 spots ahead. Really impressed with Carrington at Summer League. Let's see, Mo says, if it was last year's format, might grab another. Yeah, good call. UNC, going to take a rookie guard unless sniped. And yeah, I mean, I'll try it here. I think Bub is the pick for me. Maybe like Clark and Banton and Ron Holland. I think it's gonna be Bub. I don't. I know Trey Jones already gone, but I don't want to pair Trey and Chris Paul. So Bub's gonna be the pick here. And if that was for you, UNC, then we'll call it even on the Tari Eason. Cody Williams. Again, I like that. Cody Williams is the value when you're thinking about those wings that'll probably be playing a ton of minutes for Utah down the stretch. Taylor Hendricks going much higher. We saw him go 2-3 rounds ago. Cody Williams. And I think he is a project at this point, but I do like the upside. Against J-Dub's younger brother. He should have some decent opportunity down the stretch. So UNC confirming. Now we're even. The first of many draft battles, my friend. Excited to continue. Don't use up those 50 drafts too quick, man. We got 2 months to go. UNC, if you missed it earlier in the stream, Chris here in the chat, already 100 drafts in. But that's where Chris, maybe you can talk about a little bit in the chat as we roll through the last round here. Why so many so early? Outside of we enjoy this process, we have fun in all these drafts. But I'm sure there's ADPs that you saw out there that were even more out of whack than some of these are now here at the end of August. See Lonzo going off the board at the last pick of the 15th round. Again, dart throw. I come down, unfortunately, on the side that Lonzo's probably not making it back here. I know he's been playing some 5-on-5. I hope we see him. Such an awful turn of events in Lonzo's career there. Ware, I like that in the 16th round. Dalton Connect, that's fine. So we're going to finish. I'm going to get a wing here. I see 4 on the board that I'm more than happy to take here in the 16th round. So see if UNC or any of these other users 3 picks away snipe me on any of these wings. Grayson Allen goes off the board. Gary Trent Jr., now UNC for his final pick. See what he does. You can't hurt me anymore here, UNC. I've got multiple wings that I like. Dyson Daniels to finish it out. Okay, so I've got my pick here. I think Brandon Clark makes a lot of sense. Again, still now 8 months removed from returning from the Achilles injury, something like that. Delano Banton, I talked about. Ron Holland makes some sense. I also think Jalen Wilson down here makes a lot of sense. I'm going to go Ron Holland here. Again, I like all 4 of those guys I just mentioned. I think of those 4 guys I mentioned, the opportunity, the time I see him playing down the stretch, when again Detroit will probably be shutting things down there. In these playoff rounds, I don't think Ron Holland is somebody that they put on the sidelines. Holland can't shoot worth a lick, man. And again, I know that they pried away. Oh, Fred Vincent, right, from New Orleans, shooting coach. I'm still a Chip England man myself, but I'm not counting on Ron Holland being a knockdown shooter this year. But statistically, right, you look at what he did in the G League. This guy can produce fantasy points at a high rate when he's got the opportunity. I think he'll have that certainly near the end of the season, maybe more throughout the season. Jalen Wilson, my thoughts there. Again, maybe that's somebody that Hefty will pick up here as Mr. Irrelevant. Just going to get all the opportunity in the world, I think, at the end of the season here for Brooklyn, and maybe earlier. Delano Banton, same thoughts there, right? If you you're taking a shot on a big late here, Day'Ron Sharp, why not? Right? If Nick Claxton is sat down, you're getting some Day'Ron Sharp starts. Talked a little bit about Noah Clowney earlier, and he's wing eligible. Paul Reed, right, behind Jalen Duren there in Detroit. Not out of the question that Duren shut down near the end. You get some Paul Reed starts. Again, if Duren goes down, Beef Stew still there, but Paul Reed, very productive. Jarris Walker, Isaiah Collier, if you need a dart throw in the 16th round at guard, right, for that Utah team. So I like the Julian Strother as well went at 16-10 there, 190 overall. Julian Strother could certainly be that fifth starter. Is here Christian Brown. I'm more excited about Strother from a fantasy standpoint. And UNC took full advantage of Giddey going mid-8. Yeah, that was especially right after the trade, right? You and I think we're talking about, if I recall correctly, right when that trade happened was like, let's see what we've got here. View full draft board. We were talking about we got to fire up drafts today to go grab some Josh Giddey. Obviously, I'm still higher on him than the field. So take a little look back at this first draft. I was in the 7th spot, started double wing, Jason Tatum, Pascal Siakam. Then went LaMelo Ball, Paul George, Jamal Murray, Darius Garland, right? So we go 6 rounds. We go 3-3 guards and wings. Pick up that first big, Porzingis, Trace Jackson Davis in the 8th round, then Mark Williams. So 2 very injury prone. One guy's already injured, right? Porzingis. Then Chris Paul in the 10th, Brook Lopez, Cam Whitmore, Jakob Poeltl. So 4 big build here. Otto picked Marcus Smart. We're not crying over that. Bub Carrington and Ron Holland to close it out. UNC was right next to me in the 8th spot. Anthony Davis, Jalen Brunson, DeMar DeRozan, Kyle Kuzma, Jonathan Kuminga. Then 2 guards, Desmond Bane, Anthony Simons there in the 6th and 7th. Chris Middleton in the 8th, who we talked about at length. Again, kind of what I said, right? You don't have to take him where I've got him ranked. You can wait a round or 2 and still get Chris Middleton, 89, still above his ADP there. Zach Edey and Alex Sarr, they sandwich Keontae George there in the 10th round. Sniping me on Tari Eason. I don't think it'll be the last time here in the preseason. Ben Mathurin, Norm Powell, Cody Williams, Dyson Daniels to close out UNC's team there. And then we got Mo in the chat, right? Popped in a little bit late there. Said he went Horford, betting on Cam Johnson not getting shut down. And again, it was Cam Johnson still going to play the majority of the season on this team with plenty of opportunity to go around, and Brandon Miller outperforming ADP. Again, Mike Rando and myself discussed Brandon Miller and his ADP on this past Monday's episode of FTN Fast Break. You can find that podcast on Twitter at FTN Fast Break or wherever you get your podcasts. Mo got the 101. So he went Joker, then Fox and Booker in the guard spot, then Brandon Miller at the end of the 4th. That 4-5 turn with Miller and Jimmy Buckets. Then Derek White, Miles Turner, Trey Murphy, Scoot Henderson, who I like in the 9th round there. Cam Johnson, Brandon Pajemski, Jonathan Isaac in the 12th. I do like that pick as well. Patrick Williams, Jordan Clarkson, Nikola Jovic, and Al Horford as Mr. Irrelevant. Again, I like that. Was considering Al Horford in the last 2 rounds if I didn't pick up, that Brook Lopez and Jakob Poeltl in there. So good first draft, everybody, here of the season. In terms of a live stream, right? You'll see me in drafts, slow drafts, fast drafts between now and the beginning of the season. We got 150 to get done. I've got 135, 140 to go, something like that. UNC saying GG's. As always, look forward to these future Fridays, seeing how ADP shifts with any news and injuries that may pop up. Yeah, again, I'll be updating my best ball rankings here for Underdog best ball drafts on the NBA side, probably bi-weekly. Between now and the start of the season, just under 2 months till the NBA tips off in late October. Best Ball Diary, this is strategy articles. Those will start weekly in mid-September after NFL gets underway. And again, every Friday between now and the start of the NFL season, or NBA season, geez. Can't fully break out of what we're really focused on here this coming weekend, right? Busiest fantasy football draft weekend of the year. Here every Friday on the FTN YouTube channel, FTN Fantasy Twitter page as well. Draft into some NBA best ball drafts. I hope you all will stick with me throughout this preseason and hope to see you around in some of these future Friday streams. Last one, Mo asking, do you mind the Jovic-Butler combo? Not at all. You get Jovic in the 15th round there? Totally fine with it. 100%. So, again, appreciate you all tuning in, sticking with me here on our first preseason best ball draft. Again, if you haven't yet, you can sign up at Underdog. Promo code FTN at sign up. You get that 50% deposit match up to $250. Special discounted pick. You as well, Mo. Appreciate you stopping by, and everybody else. We'll see you on Monday for the next episode of FTN Fast Break, back here next Friday for another best ball draft. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.